Hello, everybody. We are back. It was a great night, wasn't it? On Quizzy Monday, we had almost the closest of games in Mastermind, just a pass deciding it, and then we had what we've been wanting to see time and time again: a tie-break in Only Connect to decide who gets into the final. What a cracking match that was! University Challenge, not quite such a close match, but still some great stuff in there as well to really enjoy. We have a great set of guests tonight. We have Ben and Charlotte from the Suncatchers, and we have Will, Sam, and Jack from the Thrifters from Only Connect, who are going to be delighting us with their tales of backstage daring do and on stage whatever's. I don't know, I'm just making it up, but they are going to be entertaining us very shortly. Don't forget, you can chip in the comments, and we'll try and bring your comments into the chat as we go along. Now, before we get going, just some parish notices. This weekend, this Sunday, 8 p.m. is the award show for the World Quiz Awards. People who were voting all over Christmas and into the new year, and we will be announcing the winners in a live show at 8 p.m. on All Things Quiz on Sunday. So look out for that. The winner of the latest What is the Question? The answer was January, and this question by Only Connect alumna Katrina Austin was the winner. If Whitfield is 6 and Brockbank is 8, which Jones is 1. So well done to Katrina. This week's answer in need of a question is pen, and you can now vote on that in tinyurl.com/WITQ pen. And on Wednesday, we'll announce a shortlist to try and find a winner, and you can vote on that. What else have we got? Lunchtime quiz time every day on Facebook and Twitter, or X, as I probably should call it. This was today's, which Norwegian won both the 2023 World Rapid Chess Championship and the World Blitz Chess Championship titles. So well done if you knew that one. We always post the question, and then later in the day post some interesting information related to it. Now here's the point at which it's a high wire act, because I can't remember if I've got another slide before we're going into Mastermind. No, so let me take that off. Let us get going and bring on our guests. So coming onto stage, we got Ben and Charlotte and Will and Sam and Jack. Welcome one and all. That was quite the match. I was saying beforehand, well, what else are we going to talk about? But I mean, there's so many talking points in that game. Watching it back, did you get a kind of a growing sense of, oh God, I know what's coming up?
Yeah, very much.
It is not.
Especially, yeah, it was the wall. The last question on the wall. I'm sure we'll get there and talk about it in a bit more detail. But yeah, in some, I mean, Charlotte may disagree, but for me, I thought being ahead and then losing so closely in some ways is worse. I mean, obviously, in some ways it's great, because we felt proud of how well we did. But if we'd just been behind and lost all the way, then everybody wouldn't have been sat at home going, "Oh, they got a 7-point lead." They're probably going to be in the final.
I mean, that 7-point lead. It was a very. I mean, Thrifters. At one point, I was thinking, are you going to get any luck at all, really? Because the one thing with Only Connect we know is there is a degree of luck in terms of the categories you pick. But when you keep picking categories that neither team can get, it's like, oh my word, what's happening? Sam, as captain, did you think you'd run over a cat or something? What was going on?
It was feeling like it definitely wasn't going our way that day. I mean, there's a couple of the Suncatchers that we probably would have got right, but even still, they were better than us on round 1 and round 2 for sure. So even if it had gone slightly different, I still think they'd have had a lead going into the wall. It might just have been a little bit closer. But yeah, it was just really bad luck. And we were like, oh, we've dodged the 2 music questions. Brilliant. But even then, that didn't really help us in any way, not having those.
Yeah. I mean, it was a tricky one because I think even in your first question, I think somebody mentioned things that have been renounced.
Yeah,
Will is nodding.
I don't know what went on there, to be honest. I think I had in my head too much about the gender reveal parties, and I was worrying about that, and I should have just focused on what I knew, which was Creep and June were both hated by who made them. But I don't know what happened there, to be honest. Maybe if it hadn't been the first question of the game, I might have got there and sort of warmed up a bit, but it just didn't connect for some reason. Just didn't. Yeah.
Is there, I mean, when you're going into the semi-final, and we've heard previously that sometimes these games come hot on the heels of a previous game, and you don't have too much time between. Physically and mentally, how are you feeling when you're going into a game like that? Is it possible to feel on your, on top form, Charlotte? What was your kind of state when you entered the studio that day?
I think I was calmer in the semi-final than in the quarter-final.
Because she frozen. That's me.
Oh, I was calmer in the semi than in the quarter, because in the quarter-final we had that whole thing of, if we get through this one, we get to play all the matches, whatever happens. We get the full sort of run, and it was so much fun that we just wanted to play as many as possible. I felt like our performance in the quarter, it felt a lot harder as well. But then maybe I'm just looking back, because it just felt like such a sense of relief to get to the semi-final. We chatted to the Thrifters quite a lot from the first match as well. So it felt a bit like we're going in against people that we have now spoken to and are friendly with, and they're nice guys. And you know what? It won't like really suck if we have to lose to them. But, and also that thought of, we've got to the wire with them in our first match. Maybe we could do it, or maybe we'll just run out of steam. And I don't think we ran out of steam. I think it's just luck for both teams that we ended up with the scores we ended up with. But it was exhausting. I felt the quarterfinal was much more exhausting. I felt so tired and like elated but drained at the end of that one. And the semi was like, this is quite good fun actually, and it would be mint to make the final.
Yeah, because you want to get to the final, but you also know, as you say, you complete only connect. You no matter what, you get another match, no matter what. Will and Jack, having that in the back of your mind that there's another match no matter what, and having played the Suncatchers previously, when you go into a game thinking, oh, this is a rematch, it was a really tight game previously, what were your kind of expectations of the match?
So we sort of followed the Suncatchers along. So we already had made a little group chat with each other, and we had wanted to know how they'd done. So we knew that a rematch was possible, and I think we were sort of going with the same view as Charlotte. Sort of, if we have to lose to the Suncatchers, we'd be very happy to. But yeah, and we know how well they did the first time.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because we knew that when we were going through the first two games, we knew if we lost the second game, we'd probably have to play them again in the third game. We were like, we don't want that to happen. We need to beat the anti-funds now, sort of thing. And luckily we did, and then met again anyway in the semis. But yeah.
It's funny how the draw works out. That you don't necessarily have like two halves of the draw, and then like the top team of each half meeting in the final. There's a diagram, or there used to be a diagram that they had knocking around the green room, which was incredibly complicated. I don't know if they still do that, or even.
They don't even bother anymore now. They're just like just deal with it.
I think Jack's made one. Is it on Google, Jack?
I've got a sort of wall chart for it of the match results, but I also drew one from the schedule they sent me. But I worked out the format from that. I didn't know it before they sent it to me.
Yeah. So it was a tough first round. We got some love in the chat for. One has to give incredible kudos to the writers for the In Bruges question. Absolutely marvelously written. I have to say, I just thought that was. I mean, I'm not sure.
No.
For me, I'm not sure I'd go. I don't know what to make of that question.
In Bruges is like my top 10 favorite films, and I still think it's an awful question. But yeah, I just didn't. Yeah.
There were so many steps you had to go through, weren't there? You had to recognise the actors and then recognise the film, and it seemed to be one step too far. I thought.
I think we've almost got there.
Yeah, you guys were close. You were.
Yeah, because I sort of had characters in a sitcom, and even when they sort of said the answer, I was like, "How is mine different?" I still couldn't understand it.
Paul is reacting with shock here. What the heck? I mean, Paul, you loved it. I mean, I think there was something about the construction of it which was very nice, but I wonder with the time that you have available whether it's quite tricky. Another one I thought was tricky was the pictures in that round, and I thought that was a lovely question. The seniors to well-known juniors, but I'm not. even on TV, I couldn't make out some of the pictures
Yeah.
terribly well. So I don't know what it was like in studio, but that one felt very difficult. I don't know how you found it.
I think with both those questions, it felt like if you'd had 20 seconds longer, you'd have probably got there. So it just felt like they were harder. It's a semi-final; they're going to be harder. And I think that's where it just felt quite frustrating, because you could feel your brain edging ever closer to, we're sort of getting there, but you just run out of time on both of them.
And as has been said before as well, the pictures are very hard to see in general anyway. So on the cameras, so it's like, who's that? I can't even make it. Yeah, even if we knew who the seniors were, like, just really tricky question.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Will, your general take on that kind of that first round, the feeling of you're in a semi-final, there's everything up for grabs, and you come out of that first round with no points. How was that kind of for your perception of how the game was going?
It was devastating, really. I mean, I think as Sam said, we just didn't seem to get the rub of the green with the questions at all. Not that I'm saying we'd have got all.
We got 3 5-pointers,
yeah. But it's just one of those things. As you say, there's a lot of luck involved, and it just wasn't going our way. And they did a good job of editing out a lot of me looking very grumpy.
Yeah,
between the rounds. So it was just one of those things, I suppose. I think the gap at the end of the first round, what was it? Was it 2-3-0? 3-0.
Yeah, 3-0.
I mean, I think my mood would have been very different had it been 9-0 or something. I think that might have been just out. I think game over. We'll have fun now. I think 3-0. You always think, well, there's that chance in the second round, and then that didn't happen either.
Because the second round felt like it was going to be the same again. The Oscar nominations one, I felt, was probably within your reach.
Yeah, really.
But again, you zig rather than zag. You went for composers. The adding a letter or one, you kind of. I think both teams were kind of, on the right track. There was a word play. Growing or shrinking.
Well, we knew it was like we were adding or losing a letter, but other than that, we were.
It's because I thought the Russian letter "ya" was the Greek letter "rho."
Yeah, so that's where Rod Gilbert came from.
That's where Rod Gilbert came from.
Yeah.
I thought the Rod Gilbert thing was just a nod to Wales. It was just, after Ben's shout out to Penarth. I thought it was like everybody being nice about Wales. Which is always a good thing. So the time signature one, Charlotte, you worked very hard on kind of trying to draw out a phrasing of that, and you also came up with the actually in the previous round the pigs one. So you were having quite a good game. Did it? Do you sometimes feel like you're in the zone? I'm spotting things. This is my day.
I'd kind of forgotten about the pig one, and I was a bit annoyed that we didn't get it after 2, because I'd recognised the second phrase immediately. The music one, I've been waiting all series for that. That is worth every minute of the piano lessons I hated, the flute lessons I hated, the violin lessons I hated, recorder, God knows what else. But, being pushed through that, it's like, finally. Some use in it, but then still couldn't explain it. They cut out a lot of me just flapping my hands around in the air, I think. So I think this is great, because I look really smart, but the rest of me is just doing this, like going, it's like this, and so I was really pleased with that one. And I was watching Twitter hoping that everyone would say, couldn't get it, but of course they didn't. Oh yeah, we got it. Fine,
and of course we had
say what you like on Twitter.
Well, exactly, we had that interesting comment from Victoria at the end of the show about people and the points that they get at home. It was quite an interesting one. It's
what was quite nice though with those the pig one and the music one is like I've had loads of people saying, what was great that I've been saying all along that they're always feeding me stuff, always feeding me ideas. And it's great, like, for that actually to be seen, because sometimes it doesn't come across quite how much that's the case. And so, it was great that they were sort of very clearly Charlotte getting those. So I was nowhere on them.
Yeah. I mean, Sam, again, from your perspective as captain, that's what you're going to be wanting, isn't it? Will on your right shoulder and Jack on
Yeah.
your left shoulder, chucking stuff in and hoping that you don't get overly confused
Yes.
by contradictory suggestions and you can pick the right one. There is quite an art to it in that time pressure, though, isn't there?
Yeah. And it's good because I think we've all got different sort of interests and specialisms, so we work quite well as a team in that we all know different things, and they all come together. And I try and sort of translate that into an answer. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we've got to the final, so something's going right.
Indeed. Now, it took you to the 11th question of the show before you got off the mark. That spotting the DNA bases.
Yeah, that was a godsend, but
yeah. Do you have a feeling that maybe you could have gone earlier then on that?
Oh, yeah, I could have got it for 3 for sure. But I mean, I think at that point I was just desperate. I wanted some points on the board and I didn't want to go the wrong way and say guanine instead of thymine. I was like, I just want to make sure we've got 2 points.
I think it was me who put you off doing that. I think you wanted to go for 3, and I was like, no, because what happens if it's for whatever reason you swap the order? I just didn't know there was a clear order.
Well, I don't think there really is, but Victoria's always a commonly agreed order. But I'm not convinced there is a agreed order. But we're getting into complications now. But yeah.
I did enjoy that we all gave a sort of collective groan when the third clue came out, which I've
never seen. Well, no, it was just good. It's just good and relief to have 2 points on the board at the end of the round. To be honest with you.
I mean that relief. I mean, for me, I felt like it had to be alphabetical, just because I think the way they always pair together, don't they?
Yes.
So for me, it was
yeah.
So if it's not the kind of the pairings, then probably has to be or something way more complex than my little brain would be able to understand.
I've got a nice clip now for whenever my students at school say, why do we need to know the 4 DNA bases? I can be like, look, it's on TV. It came in handy.
You never know.
Yes, you never know. Exactly.
Help get you into a final.
Yes.
Suncatchers, you had a good round. You got 6 points in it, so you must have been chuffed. What were your kind of highlights, apart from the time signature one of Charlotte's? What were your highlights in that round?
Well, I like the other two. I mean, the Generations, that's another one that probably with a bit more, we were being a bit calmer. We may have got for 3 because we knew that was Generation X and then sort of linking it back. But then, obviously seeing, was Generation X third? No, Generation X was third, wasn't it? So, So no, I don't think so. But yeah, nice one to get that. And then the darts and the clock faces. I mean, that's kind of classic stuff. Classic only connect question. So I was quite pleased to get that one. It's a bit of a darts fan as well. So yeah, I mean, I thought we felt pretty good. We got all 6 of our questions right, like for the least points possible. But I kind of guessed the first 2 a little bit. In the first round, the November one, we were slightly lucky to get. I think Victoria said, afterwards, she only gave it to us because she thought all the questions were so hard that she wasn't sure anybody was going to get anything. So that was why she was uncharacteristically generous for a semi-final. And then singing Dames, we probably should have got earlier, but again, kind of guessed a bit. So yeah, we were pleased after those first 2 rounds. Obviously, it was a good position.
It's interesting you said we got them, but for the fewest points possible. But and that kind of goes back to what Sam was saying in a way. Part of the art of Only Connect is not letting anything go across the studio to the other team if you can possibly help it, because that's like it's a swing. It's not just a point here. It's one you didn't get and one that they get. So there is a lot to be said for playing conservatively. I guess the time to be playing carefree is when you're either miles behind or miles ahead. That's the time you throw caution to win. Any other time you're conservative.
We weren't playing conservatively. We just weren't getting them until the last minute. There was no deliberate strategy to it.
The Generations one I got for 3, and I was willing you to get it wrong. I felt so mean. I was like, "Oh yes, they've not got it. They've not got it."
Your evil moment,
That feeling of being sat across the studio from the other team, thinking, "Don't get it, don't get it, don't get it," and then last minute inspiration pops up. It's frustrating. The other thing that I would have found frustrating was the very forced way you had to sing.
I've completely forgotten that happened. I brought that out.
We'd suppress the memory.
Yeah.
I mind.
I mean-
There was no way I was singing. My voice is
Awful.
terrible.
That was
I could
from my wife.
I could
not to
hear
sing.
mine really clearly, and it was like stabbing me in my soul. It was awful.
because that was the second time we'd had to sing, and I knew we'd done it the first time. I'd forgotten this completely. The second one, yeah, a nightmare.
It really did. It felt like a little bit of filler, which is odd in the context of a game that goes to a tie break, that you would throw something in a little bit needlessly.
Maybe Victoria was trying to like cheer us up or something. I don't know, but I don't think it had that effect. necessarily.
Claire's put a comment in. Graham Jones in counterpoint this afternoon. Spoiler alert! I was so far ahead that he was able to give a funny answer in the last round. That's the luxury you have when you're a long way ahead. 9 points to 2, 7-point lead, which I guess Suncatchers means you know that you can actually have a bit of a mare on the wall, and you're still going to be in the match. Does that take the pressure?
I don't think. No, because we'd seen them do missing vowels. So we knew what they were like on a missing vowels round. And it was just a case of we need to get as many as possible on the wall. I don't think we breathed a sigh of relief at all, did we, Ben? It was just kind of like, we need to get 10 on this and keep this. I think we just assumed they'd get 10 on the wall, and then the missing vowels would be really hard. So I don't think it felt like any kind of relief. Just relief, just got through 2 rounds with some points.
You weren't wrong, because the missing vowels were hard. There were some of the best answers of the series in missing vowels. We'll get onto that in a second. Looking at your wall, you handled it pretty well, and the kind of this is Suncatchers, the kind of the red herrings. You just missed the states ones, and this is another occasion where there have been similar connections in both walls. That's been happening a little bit recently.
Yeah, I think. Sorry,
go on, Karen.
I was going to say, yeah, I think it's one of those where they've reached the stage where it's not like in an earlier round they would all have been preceded by the same state, and it's sort of you get to that thing where it's like that double layer question where you've got to work out that it's different states. Obviously the Thrifters did, so well done to them. But that Alabama Slammer is the thing that keeps haunting me, and has been haunting me since May. Not that I'd ever heard of it. I think it was a hard question. It was guessable, but hard. California was dreaming, but then, Virginia Wade, that's not the first thing you think, in Virginia, you don't necessarily think of as a state. Tennessee, I think if one of us had said Tennessee Williams, then that would probably have hit it. I think Charlotte did say it early on. But
I think, funnily enough, we were looking at Williams for the tennis and the sporting siblings, ignored Wade and the tennis, hadn't gone down that sort of red herring. So had never said Virginia Wade, I think. So just those things that sometimes all happen at the same time, you go, bang, that's a connection, it's out the way. Just we'd all gone off in slightly different directions. And it's it's a bit of a kicker. And I'd said tequila slammer and had never heard of an Alabama slammer. So that would have never come to mind. So, it was one of those where it was just so very close to having the full points. But
and if we had, we'd be in the final. But we didn't, and we're not, that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
It's,
it was hard, and I don't have to look at the second wall again. But, you had Williams, which could have fit in the sporting siblings, and Brownlee, which could have fit in sporting siblings. It was when you've got 6, that makes it a lot harder.
Trying to fish out those.
Yeah, and that could take so long. But you did well, because you did solve the wall. Felt like quite an abrupt solve at the end. But it was
we'd not got the connections, but we'd got the 2 groups, and I hadn't realised that we were quite a way away from the end. And I think I said, should we try the colours to see if we've got them right? Because of course, if we'd got them wrong and then run out of time to try and get them right, we'd have been kind of stuck, because we didn't have any backups for colours. It was just like, that's what they are. Did it, and then it stopped. And as I watched it, I was just like, why did I say to do that? Like, we could have had a bit more time. So I don't know.
It's smart thinking though, isn't it? Because actually, if you're not 100%, the worst thing in the world is to kind of you make your guess, lock it in towards the end, and then it's wrong, and then you're panic pressing. So little bit down.
Brown and red are really obvious, but I think rose and teal are slightly less obvious, and that's probably why I was feeling a little bit edgy about it.
Unfortunate, but 7 points, having a 7-point lead going into it, so you knew that you were still going to be having a lead going into Missing Vowels against the monstrous Thrifters, and they're buzzing. Thrifters, talk us through your wall then, because that kind of, it felt like you had less of that angst, and of course you got the 10 points.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for that. We were sort of playing for freedom at that point. It was sort of like we were pretty convinced we'd lost at that point. It was like, let's just try and get some points on the wall and see what happens. And I literally do go when we get the first creep. I went, oh, we've got a point at least, because I was convinced we weren't going to score anything at that point. But it just gradually, slowly, all fitted together, and I think everyone spotted a few different things and managed to put it together. Like Will spotted the cricketers. I think I
was fairly certain when I saw Flintoff and I can't remember any of the other. That wasn't even one of the cricketers.
No, Hoggard.
Hoggard, that's I mean, there were a couple I didn't know, but I thought it had to be cricketers. When I saw
Jack, that was a good example of a decoy confirming the group, wasn't it? Yeah, which is really
sometimes the most obvious one in a group is actually the decoy, and I think I should have thought about that more in hindsight. But yeah, and then Jack spotted all the stone stuff, and then I think I spotted the American States one, and then it just sort of all.
I had no idea on the American States.
Yes,
not a clue.
I think Baja was my main in there, and then I thought, oh, Dina Washington, and then it was
that was a brilliant spot.
Dina Washington was a great spot. That was brilliant.
Yeah, very good. I mean, it was just a very good solving of the war. I mean, because to show you how badly things can go wrong, and I was not under pressure. I saw Hoggard and thought, oh, that's going to be the red herring, because Hoggard is a type of meat. No, it's not. Hogget is a type of meat, not Hoggard. But in your brain, sometimes you can convince yourself that a thing is a thing when it's not a thing.
Thankfully, we've missed that a lot in actual Alien Connect, but on Cockle, there's been a few times where we've been convinced there's a connection in there, like an entirely new group that just doesn't exist, and we get like fixated on it, and then but luckily, we've done all right on the walls. It's been, I don't want to say plain sailing, but we have done them all so far. So. Yeah,
I wonder. I mean, I doubt it's easy, and I doubt they would ever do it. But I wonder if it'd be possible to do a wall where there's more than one way of resolving it.
Ooh.
So in your 16, that there are, that you could solve it with one set of 4 subjects, but a different set of 4 and different. Anyway, that's a puzzle. We've got people like Puzzle Dan in here, I think, watching, and Benjamin Benoit watching. They write questions for the show. There's your challenge. Give us for the final next year walls that can be solved 2 ways. So going into the final round, 12-16, 4 points. So Ben, you said that you knew that the Thrifters were good on Missing Vowels, so you're thinking you're going to have to be getting in there and getting a few.
And I think this is where I think the sort of the situation does have a bit of an impact as well, because when you're 4 ahead, I think you are probably a little bit more conservative on the vowels, and especially in a later round. I think in an early round, when it's effectively a reaction test, because everybody's getting all of them pretty much, and it's just who gets them quickest. Whereas here are some that not everybody's getting them, and so we may. I don't think we certainly didn't. I certainly didn't consciously sort of sit back and say, well, okay, let's not take any chances. But I think when you're 4 ahead, there's probably a little bit just in the back of your mind going, don't give any points away. Make them come and get it rather than give it to them.
Yeah. And conversely, Thrifters, you've got to be thinking, well, 4 points to make up over possibly 12 clues, maybe a little bit extra.
Yeah.
You've got to go for it, don't you?
Definitely. I think, it was sort of like, we're still way behind here. We just need to just go hell for leather and just try our best. And
And in the first one, the apparently random countries, which was kind of the straightforward set, I guess, out of the 3, you tied 2-2. So at that point, it's looking okay. This is the sort of thing where, Suncatchers are just keeping the Thrifters at arm's length. And then we got the beastly what connects them, which, Thrifters claw back 2 points. with things like their names all end with the same 2 letters.
Yeah.
These really long multi-word ones are horrendous. And
The
then
one that impressed me was the 5 letter. They all border a country with a 5-letter
Yeah.
name. Still don't know how you got that. That was just incredible, I thought.
yeah, and it's that one where do you buzz when you know the answer, or do you buzz when you know you're going to be able to kind of work it out through it?
For me, I don't know about others, but for me, it's probably like about half and half. Like I get about halfway through, think I know where it's ending, and then sort of work out the rest as I'm saying the first half of it, which sounds insane now I'm saying it out loud, but I think that's just sort of how my brain works. And 9 times out of 10, I'll either get there or will bail me out on a few occasions.
Well, likewise.
After the quarterfinal, I didn't want to risk that because I was really terrified that's what I tried with the Mary Anning answer, and I didn't want to make the same mistake this time and lose us points. So I felt that I'd worked it out when I buzzed, because there was a few where I was like a split sort of second behind. Like, I guess got that one, and I was still sort of shaking as I was saying it. I spoke really slowly because there was so many words, and as I got halfway through, I'm thinking, "Do I really know? Do I know? Am I sure?"
Well, that's definitely a valid strategy as well, saying things really slowly, because as long as you don't push it too much, you can sort of get away with quite a bit, just taking your time with it.
I'd started to adopt a strategy because I was always very conservative, and I was always about half a second behind either Sam or Will. So I started to look at the end of the clues and be ready to pick up if they stopped. And so the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe clue I picked up halfway through, and I felt bad because I was like, Will deserves full credit for that, but I just sort of picked up just in case he dropped.
That is an example of one that I knew it was the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah,
I just had to put it in alphabet. So I buzzed. I actually said, you can't hear it on the show, I think, but Jack and Sam will back up. I ordered one. Oh, go on then.
Yeah.
I buzzed.
Had we not been so far behind, I think you would have just left it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. I thought we'd lost, so I thought it's a free shot. I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
And I knew the words. I just had to make sure I put the right number of thes in.
Yeah.
So that's very slowly, methodically through that.
I think starting with the "and" is brilliant. That's the kind of thing you easily not do. You know, the "and" just feels like, just part of it. Yeah, so I thought it was brilliant as well.
It was brilliant because I was looking at it and I wrote it down. And Lion, the Wardrobe Witch. It was just a superb answer. I mean, so there's a lot of praise for these. They all bordered countries with a 5-letter name, and that's quite special, wasn't it? It's just these were great, worthy of a semi-final.
But I'm just crap at geography, like generally in quiz. So to get that one was just like, made it.
I mean, the pressure of getting those really complicated ones right in a semi-final when you know what's at stake if you get something wrong is huge. Did you know, at what point did you know that this was 20 points apiece? 20 points apiece.
Absolutely.
I hadn't worked it. I hadn't worked it out then.
I wasn't sure. I thought there was a chance, but I wasn't sure at all.
Yeah. It was weird because at the end I'd fully lost count, and I wasn't sure whether to be gutted or elated, so I felt both at the same time, which is complete emotional overload.
I was pretty sure it was within one either way, but I had no idea. Like in the early rounds, I was counting, and then I'd stopped because I felt like in the first game when we played, I'd maybe thought, should I be counting? And so I stopped. I tried to stop counting. I knew it was close, but I didn't know it was a tie.
It didn't help, and I think we all did this because we were held for 5-10 minutes because Victoria wasn't sure if it was right to stop between revealing the category but not revealing a clue. And so I think we all probably did this. I had my hand on the buzzer waiting for the letter Z to appear, for them to restart, film it again with a Z appearing on the screen. And luckily they did not.
Because that would have been, Alice would have been all over those.
Yeah.
Sure. Like that's kind of one of the things that would have been right in her speciality. So I think even if that first question had come up, I'd have been backing Alice to buzz in on that.
And that's, I mean, it's again, go back to my time on the show, there was as much time in that missing vowels round as kind of been left by things like the walls being solved and stuff like that. So we deliberately, if we were ahead, said answers very, very slowly to deny time to the other team to be buzzing in. I don't know if that's still kind of works. But what happened was, in this case, it was a tie. Now, Ben and Sam, is this the point at which you think, why did I volunteer to be captain?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know. I quite enjoy it in an odd way. I mean, I spoke after the quarterfinal about just what an intense experience it was. But honestly, I would rather do it than sit and watch someone else.
And that's
do it.
interesting because I was
that's
looking
just
at Will,
and I think that's.
Sorry, I was going to say I was looking at Will when when it was kind of clear what was happening, and it was like, Will, you didn't know where to put yourself.
No, not at all. It was just so surreal. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether to look up. I didn't know whether to look down. I didn't know.
I think, didn't they recommend that like you specifically, if you're not the captain, you don't look at the clue.
And say team members do not look, because if you say anything or buzz in because you've forgotten that you're not allowed to, then you just lose the point. So I think did the same as me, which is just put your head straight down so you're not even tempted.
I looked up at the ceiling, which looks amazing on TV.
So how long did you have then between knowing it was a tie break and that one clue with no guidance, can be anything? How long did you both have to stew on what you were about to do?
I think it was only a couple of minutes this time. So
I think she went straight into it.
Yeah, the long break.
It's been a long time, as we said there, because Charlotte burst into tears and had to have a makeup redone. Sorry, Charlotte, bring that up again. But also, it took them a while to get all the technical stuff sorted out, whereas I think they were more ready for it here.
Yeah.
And so it was only a couple of minutes, I think, Sam.
Yeah, because the longer break came before, like I say, when Victoria had revealed the category, but then none of them popped up. She sort of said, like to the producers, "Is that right?" So then I think they were sort of ready for the tiebreak, because it was pretty instantaneous. I can't remember how quick it was, but it certainly felt pretty quick once that had been resolved. Yeah. And we knew it was definitely a tie. Yeah, I'm glad really, because there wasn't a lot of time to sort of like worry about it. It was just sort of let's get it done as quick as possible.
Know there's normally a pause between it coming on screen and the competitors seeing it.
Yeah.
But it felt pretty quick. It felt like you solved that very, very fast this time, Sam. Was it as quick as it looked, or quicker?
I have no idea, to be honest. It could have been a half a second. It could have been 3. I really don't know. It
was quick.
Yeah,
it was really quick.
From my memory of
sorry, Jack. Being sat next to Ben, it all happened so quickly that it came on and there was a ding, and I just felt Ben go, because it was like you just knew he'd got it, and it was really close, because I could sense you next to me go like a kind of tense up and go, oh yeah, no, he's got it.
I was just a beat behind him. That's just last time I was a beat ahead of the Gunners and this of Stanley, and this time I was a beat behind, and that's just how it goes, right? It's just
I do find it interesting the sort of like pause they edit in, because like it made us look like we got the countries that start quite slowly, whereas it made us look like we got the connections one with the countries really quick after, because obviously they put a little bit of a break in so the audience can get it, but then like it makes it look like it took us ages to get the first lot, whereas here it looks pretty instantaneous, so it's hard to know really.
Yeah.
Going back to that tiebreaker too, I couldn't remember what our buzzer sound was. In all that madness, I couldn't remember. So I heard the buzzer go, and I still didn't know who buzzed in. It was only when Sam started speaking, I went, right, okay.
Yeah. I only knew because I just saw his hand move in my peripheral vision, and I thought, oh my god.
I didn't realize as well. I presume this is it, but I think Victoria, didn't she pick the tiebreaker itself? Like, because I think I heard her going to the producers, go for that one. I don't know
that's a good one.
I didn't realize that.
So that's something that I didn't know until that exact moment, which is interesting. So if you picked a different tiebreaker, it might have all been very different.
Yeah. So Ben, you've been on both ends of a tiebreaker series. You must be one of the very few captains that's ever had that situation. I mean, losing on a tiebreak is never going to be good. When you know you've got another game to play, does it soften it somewhat?
Yeah, it does a little bit. I mean, I know you get Victoria normally does the sort of bit about the third place playoff, my favourite show. You get to go to that, which is obviously nonsense because you want to win and you want to get to the final, of course. But it is a consolation because I think it's more that it doesn't end on that defeat. So, our journey as it will end in the third place playoff. It would have been far worse losing in the quarterfinal, partially for that reason, because then we'd have lost, we'd have walked out and never gone back. Whereas this one, so just to sort of go through the filming logistics, quite boring, but some people might be interested. We've done the last second round game on the Friday. We'd done the quarterfinal on the Saturday, and then the semi-final was on the Sunday. So we were pretty frazzled, pretty knackered by this point. But then the final and the third place playoff were both filmed on the same day. I think 3 weeks later. I think it was 3 weeks later.
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks.
So it meant we got to come back. So and because we'd never met before, obviously we'd been for the sort of the first round games. But it would have been like, right, that's it. We walk out and we're gone, and Charlotte would have got in a car and gone back up north, and Alice back on the train to London, and that would have whereas at least we had thought of, well, we get to come back together, at least one more time and do it again. And the other thing for me was having won one tiebreaker really softened the blow of losing the second one, because I think had I gone, sort of 0 for 1, that would have been tough. I mean, no one's fault. Just is what it is. Someone's got to win them. Someone's got to lose them. But having won one did make it easier to lose the second one.
Yeah, and the flip side of this is, Sam, you won. You get that incredible feeling. A bit emotional, I understand, amongst the team.
Yeah, I think there's probably tears from all of them. I think you do see Jack crying on camera. Luckily,
yeah, I'm crying.
Yeah, luckily I avoided that. I did get a bit misty-eyed, and it's funny because once the credits roll, I think that's when the tears really started flowing. And then they're going, "Hang on, we just need to check if there's any pickups, if we need to refilm anything." I'm thinking, please no. The tears are streaming down my face, but thankfully everything was fine. We didn't have to refilm anything, because that would have been hard to recompose myself at that point. So I think it was just like a release more than anything. Like, I don't think it was even fully clocked that we'd won. Like, I think even if I'd lost that, it still would have been like, oh, it's over. The stress is over. Because as you said, you get another match no matter what. It wouldn't have been the end of the world if we'd lost.
But that was where I think, us had gone through this thing the day before.
Yeah.
Meant that it wasn't as big a release. It didn't feel as intense in the semi as it did in the quarter, because we'd done it the day before. And I think we've been in such an intense situation that actually it couldn't feel as intense again, even though in some ways it counted for more, obviously getting to the final. But it just wasn't as intense, certainly for me. Charlotte, if you felt the same.
I think playing such a nice team, and I messaged Ben and Sam just as I was kind of 15 minutes delayed watching the show, and I saw just before the tie break, I think Sam sort of looked over to Ben and was like, oh my, like kind of this thing of, you okay, we're about to do this, and Ben sort of smiles and nods back. It was so nice. It wasn't a real sort of combative, we're against each other thing. It just, we met a really nice team. Our team is really nice, I believe so anyway. And it was kind of that thing of, at the end as well, like I really felt for them. I was like, oh my God, you've made it through to the final. This is incredible. I was so happy for them. And just kind of thinking the whole way along, we had to do an audition as 3 people that hadn't met, had barely spent any time together on Zoom or anything like that. So to even get to the semi-final, I felt was kind of vastly punching above what I thought we could have ever done in the first place. And it was kind of like, the final's there in our grasp, but wow, we've just had such a nice time. And as Ben says, we get to leave. We've lost, but we still get to come back and play for fun, basically, because,
Brilliant. Well, it was a tremendous match. It was great fun watching you. And as I put in Twitter before it all started, it's like we don't say goodbye to any of you. So we do get to see you all again. So congratulations, Thrifters. But thanks so much, Suncatchers, as well, for all the entertainment. And there's more to come, I'm sure. So we're looking forward to that. So well done, one and all, for giving us a match to remember. Now, we are going to be moving on, and we're going to be chatting. Somebody's put in the chat. can you all share your thoughts on the history of cattle, please? That was, of course, one of the Mastermind specialist subjects tonight. We will look at Mastermind very shortly. We'll whiz through the other shows. I'd also give you the nominees for Quiz Room Team of the Week. I'm going to play a video. If any of you want to stay on and chip in, then feel free. Otherwise, I'll be playing a video and you can disappear during that. But thanks once again, Ben, Charlotte, Jack, Sam, and Will. Been great chatting to you.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Nice to talk to you too.
See you soon.
Bye.
Huge thanks to our community of All Things Quiz members. Your support helps us to keep this channel going. It pays for essential running costs. Now, if you want to become a member of All Things Quiz, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/allthingsquiz. And from £3 a month, you not only get to support the work of this channel, but there are a range of member benefits available, including our monthly quiz. Hope to see you soon. And our monthly quiz last night, in fact, was all about 2023, 70 plus questions. Tremendous evening. Well done to Michael McPartland, who won that. Now, Mastermind tonight, these were the subjects. So Trevor McDonald, Leeds United Football Club, Mernaloy, and the history of cattle. These were the leading predictions. We did have quite a number of people get points tonight, and quite a few people got 4 points. We'll get onto that. But well done to all of the players. Nobody really kind of stood out in the specialist subjects. Everybody got a decent score without really making a break. But then we had a tie, another tie in Mastermind. And this one was decided by passes. And once again, the don't pass tactic came through, and Sharon Redding was our winner. So well done to Sharon. We look forward to seeing her tactically astute play in the next round. She took Myrna Loy. Now, in our Mastermind predictions game, let's have a look at who scored points. Well, there's quite a bunch of you who got 4 points. Michael McPartland, Rob Jones, Tim Hall, Toby Atala, and Tom Mead. Well done to you. Pam got 3, Chris and Ed 2, and a swathe of you getting 1 point. Well done to all. Actually, we did want to talk about cows, and people are confusing cows and goats in the chat, I can see. But yes, the cattle run seemed like quite an interesting topic to me, because it was quite wide-ranging, from the aurochs to presidential cows. So quite an interesting subject. A little bit of a home subject for somebody who is a farmer. They don't usually allow people to do things that are related to their field of activity. There you go, nice pun. But it was a decent subject. I think it proved that you can have such diversity from a subject like that, which looks very, very broad, to something like Myrna Loy and Trevor McDonald, which are biographical subjects. So yeah, it was a great episode in that regard. This is the leaderboard. Now, this is all subject to protest and people checking. But this is what the leaderboard looks like. It looks like Philip Isaac is now 3 points clear of Ed Mason, with Pam another 4 points back. Tim Hall is ominously moving up. He's always scoring. Yeah, there's still, that's week 19. There's 12 more weeks to go. So it's anybody's guess who is going to be winning the Mastermind prediction competition. Next week's subjects are Kim Philby, Chess the Musical, which I am hoping to be scoring really highly on. It's one of my favourite musicals. The Castles of North Wales, where all the best castles are, and The Life of Thomas Hardy. If you want to play next week's Mastermind predictions competition, submit your predictions to tinyurl.com/mm-predict-23. That's Mastermind. We'll just chat very briefly about University Challenge just after this short video. Have you been waiting for a range of quiz merchandise to come on the market? Then wait no more. Whatever type of quizzer you are, whether you're a flashcarder, or you quiz with pride, or want to celebrate great quizzes like Millionaire Champions, or Bill McCaig, the king of 15 to 1, or your favourite TV shows, or even your favourite YouTube channel, where do you go? The answer's loading. It's tinyurl.com/ATQ store. Okay, so I've just stirred the hornet's nest. Ed is saying, what is this Cardiff Castle erasure? Well, I mean, Cardiff Castle, a lot of it's quite modern, isn't it, Ed? It's not like some of the really old North Wales castles. The guy who did the renovation and rebuilding of Cardiff Castle also did Castle Koch, which visited in April, which is absolutely fine. So South Wales does have some nice castles. Just more of a Norwalian. Gerard, of course, he likes singing, and that's the first line, I believe, of chess. I'm almost singing it myself in my head. So looking forward to chess next week. Now, in University Challenge, it was Lincoln College Oxford versus Imperial. Imperial have a fine pedigree, as we all know, in University Challenge. They are past winners, recent winners, and they're looking really good right now. They set off with 4 consecutive buzzes, getting in without reply, and they never let that lead slip. Weren't necessarily always converting their bonus attempts, but they just didn't let Lincoln get in on the buzzer. And Jones, in particular, of Imperial, was superb. His buzzes: Liberation Theology, Click Chemistry, Anna, Thomas Hardy, Rossum's Universal Robot, Mechanical Reproduction, Charlie Mingus, Claude Lorraine, and Harrier. Just stuff all over the place. He was just absolutely brilliant. Lee chipping in very well. Lee's been on this show, and Lee was really, really good. And I just have to say good luck to Lee, who is taking his exams at Imperial this week. On the other hand, Lincoln, Totolo was good, but couldn't quite hit the heights of previous weeks. And I just want to shout out to Ward on Lincoln's team. She got 2 negs, one of which her mind just blanked on her, and then just came in with 3 great buzzes after that. Real strength of character. The Mersenne Primes won very, very fast, particularly when you think you're playing Imperial, the Royal College of Science and Technology. So well done to Ward. But it's Imperial who take the laurels this week, and fantastic performance from them. We look forward to seeing them in the next round. And that, of course, has got them a nomination for Quiz Team of the Week. So let's move on to Quiz Week. And last week's winner of Quiz of the Week was John Hall for his 5th full house in the Merseyside Quiz League. Kashava Guha came second. Now, if you've been watching Jeopardy, you might recognise Kashava Guha's name from Jeopardy. I'll say no more. But well done to Kashava. And Helen Lepel from Mastermind was 3rd. Winner of the OQL Cup, Alan Partridge Project were 1st. Celtic Good Milf Hotel, winner of OQL USA, was 2nd. And the other one, because this was just before Christmas, I can't remember what they won for, but well done to them, 3rd. There hasn't been a huge amount going on in recent weeks, but what there is mostly in the individual sphere. So let's have a look at the nominees this week for Quiz of the Week. Oh no, did I put this in the wrong order? Before we go on to that, just coming up, here's a few events happening. The OQL Individual Championship on the 20th of January. I think there may be 1 day left to sign up for that. The British Student Quiz Championships the same weekend. Our next members quiz is 28th of January. Pop Culture Challenge starts 29th of January. Sign up if you haven't already for that. Connections Online Quiz League, they're doing a taster tournament if you want to play that. So go to quizcentral.net for those 2 tournaments. Bundesliga have got their Summer Showdown in May, and OQL have announced their weekender in Blackpool in July. Don't forget you can nominate people and teams for Quizzer Team of the Week at tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations. And here indeed are the nominees this week. So, broadcast quizzing, Counterpoint, there's been 2 heats since we last gathered our nominees. Nikki Coburn won Counterpoint against such luminaries as Emma Laslett, a very fine win. Nikki is a Welsh quizzer. She's really good, and she won that heat. Graham Jones won today's heat against a former Brain of Britain, David Stainer. So a very fine performance from Graham. Tom Adlam won last week's Mastermind heat, and Sharon Redding won today's Mastermind heat. On to Quiz League type stuff. Jamie Hall won Brain of Bolton. Jacob Myers won the last Mimirs Well Championship of 2023, the Mimirs Well Gunpowder League. Mark Henry won Squizzed in December. And Tim Hall won Quest Grand Prix at the weekend by, I believe, 0.1 of a point. So finest of margins. So well done to all of those taking titles. And in America, Dan Burgess won the latest Pop Solos. So quite some fine tournaments concluding in the last couple of weeks. Michael McPartland won our All Things Quiz quiz of 23 last night. That's for patrons. If you want to play the next one, just sign up at patreon.com/allthingsquiz. We had a clutch of people get 14 out of 15 in the International Culture Challenge. Trevor Alexander, Tracy Merkin, Vinu Sanjay, Victoria Gross, Evan Lynch, a whole bunch of names there that you will know if you've been paying attention to the nominations for the World Quiz Awards, which is on Sunday at 8 p.m. on All Things Quiz. And in Mimi as well, Ian Bailey, Chris Ottolino, and Shane Whitlock got 14 out of 15. So the vote is now open, tinyurl.com/QW0824. And Team of the Week, it's slimmer pickings. We've got, it's broadcast quizzing only because team quizzing has really not been happening recently. So Mercians and Thrifters from Only Connect in the last 2 weeks, and Sheffield University and Imperial College from University Challenge in the last 2 weeks. Get your votes in. Voting is open until Friday when we will announce the winner. And I believe that is it from Quiz Week. So next time we go live on this channel will be the World Quiz Awards. We have such tremendous nominees. We're going to have some special guests on there. We've got 5 awards that the public have voted for. We got a few awards, a couple that were decided by expert international panels. We got one that was voted for by All Things Quiz Patreon members, and we've got a category that is in the gift of All Things Quiz as well for people and organizations we want to recognize. So there's lots of great stuff going to be happening on Sunday. We're shining a light on the best stuff in quiz. Even those that are not nominated or not in the final set of nominees, there's some brilliant people and organizations and competitions out there. We'll be mentioning them all. We'll be reviewing national, international, and online quizzing through the night as well. So please join us for that. If you haven't already, please like this video. And if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. We passed the 2,000 mark over Christmas, so that was great. Don't forget to vote for what is the question, which is tinyurl.com/WITQpen. Don't forget to vote for Quizzer and Team of the Week at tinyurl.com/QW08Jan24. And don't forget lunchtime, quiz time every day between 12 and 2. Thanks to everybody who's been in the chat. Thanks to our guests today. They were fantastic. That was such a great Only Connect show. We could have talked to them for blooming ages. They were absolutely wonderful. But we look forward to seeing both of those again in the future, and look forward to seeing you again in the future. Until next week, have fantastic quizzing. Don't let the January blues get to you. Enjoy your quiz. Find the joy of quiz wherever you can, and we will see you again soon. Until then, goodbye, everybody.